my sister got sick. There was a shift in focus in our family.
TVO and the Ontario Media Development Corporation present an evening of short documentaries by 3 emerging filmmakers.
Welcome to Now Connections, Now Magazine's exciting new meeting place for our readers.
It doesn't matter if I try to net it away. It doesn't matter whether I bargain with God about it. It's still going to be there. It's genetic.
The Al Waxman calling card documentaries, tonight on TVO.
I'll do the two-red twitch. Ha, ha.
He barks, he spits, he shakes. He can't help it. He's also witty, funny, and brilliant.
The title of my dissertation is What Makes a Tick. You only have half an hour of prepared material. The rest of it is just you standing there hoping that you've got the answers. I get sent out of the room, and they deliberate, and they vote, and they decide whether I get the PhD or not. Yeah. So it's
Life's a twitch.
It's stressful.
Tonight on The View from Here. Hello, welcome to The View from Here. I'm Ian Brown. I will venture to say that the film you're about to see, Life's a Twitch, by director Cindy Bisséon, is one of the most captivating, watchable short documentaries you've ever seen. There's no surprise, really. It's one of TVO's calling card commissions for 2002, a program co-sponsored by the Ontario Media Development Corporation designed to train up-and-coming documentarians to make feature-length work. Of course, it's also about Tourette's syndrome, which makes it pretty watchable all on its own. Duncan, the main character, suffers from the disinhibitionary condition known as Tourette's, famous for making its victims swear or yelp or twitch in public, especially when they're stressed out, which they tend to be a lot of time because people keep looking at them when they twitch and shout. It's a vicious circle. But Duncan is a match and then some for Tourette's. He's decided to get his PhD on the subject of his own affliction and has become an authority on his own tics. Paradoxically, he helps himself get better and calmer by giving in to the tics, all of which are on touching and, by his own admission, sometimes hilarious display here in the film. So, fasten your seatbelts. You're about to go somewhere you never went before.
Hi, I'm Duncan McKinley. Screw that. That was stupid. Okay. I'm Duncan as in donuts. Okay. Alrighty. Hi, my name is Duncan as in donuts. I have Tourette syndrome. You know, what's bugging me is that I'm not Duncan with Tourette syndrome. I'm Duncan, the clinician, the researcher, the writer, the presenter who happens to have Tourette syndrome. You want me to do that? I'm a shaking and a barking, what's wrong with me? I hide these just so no one can see what's going on and where's it coming from. It sure is nice to hear I have Tourette syndrome. Let's twitch, everybody let's twitch. Who really cares if the neighbors snitch? We all do the Tourette twitch. 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 Ha ha. I may not want to shake my head. I may not want my attention jumping all over the place. I may not want to rage. I may not want to get stuck on particular thoughts. Tough. It doesn't matter if I try to net it away. It doesn't matter whether I bargain with God about it. It's still going to be there. It's genetic.
Growing up wasn't a question of whether I would kill myself, it was a question of when. All I knew is that I seemed to have a demon in my head. I had this malicious being in my head. Ha! Once I decided to understand this devil, I learned he wasn't a devil at all. I learned what the true devil was: ignorance. Tourette's, an obsessive-compulsive disorder, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which, you know, plagued me for years as well. Ha! Tick break. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. It's basically disinhibition. And by disinhibition, what I mean is that the proper brakes, the proper sensors over different areas of your brain don't work that well. They're disinhibited. With Tourette syndrome, obviously it's a motor brake that isn't working, and so extra movements come out. With obsessive-compulsive disorder, it's a brake over your thoughts. You know, they get stuck on like a broken record in people with OCD. And with ADHD, it's the brakes over your attention. So you leap all over the place. You're thinking, shake your head, shake your head, shake your head. You're thinking, prickly sweater, prickly sweater. What's going on over there? What are they talking about? What's happening over there? Boy, that cloud looks like a squirrel. Gee, my socks are driving me nuts. I think I have wires in my socks. That seam is driving me insane. All the sensory sensitivities. I mean, it's like a neurological chaos. It can really overload you. And there's sometimes that I just need to vent it all. I just need to flush it all out of my system. You know, I've learned to, you know, hit a door jamb rather than a wall so that I don't have to drywall the next day. How can I let this energy out in other ways if I feel myself building? The horrified thought that's going through all of the audience's minds simultaneously right now is, my God, he drives. There are certain tics, like, I don't know, taking the steering wheel and whipping it to the side going 90 miles an hour that I know is going to cause an accident and I know will probably kill me. It's like these survivalist instincts overpower and take over and say, look, I don't really care how much you want to scratch that itch. You're not going to do it, period, end of story.
Well, you know what? Having Tourette's feels a lot like being covered with mosquito bites. Doctors say now, if you have 300 people in a gym, probably about 3 to 5 people would have Tourette's. See, there were a lot of people like me that were hiding it. I got pretty tricky at it. You know what I'd do? That tick, I'd pretend I was yawning. I'd go, or else that snorting tick. You know how some people snort when they laugh? So I'd and I'd pretend I was just laughing. And so there might be some people that you don't even know have Tourette's, but they know they have a secret. You know, I didn't really have any extra energy until I was about 6 and 7. And then it came and moved in. And I would just go Tasmanian devil around the house. It's like going through your day for 8 hours being covered with poison ivy and not scratching. You go bonkers. I mean, it was such a scary issue.
When I suppressed my symptoms when I was growing up, because I grew up in a very small town where everyone was annoyingly normal and I seemed to be the only freak on the planet, I may not have been showing anything out here. I wasn't ticking, but I was much more explosive. If I want to be a psychologist, rage episodes, probably not going to get me close to my goal.
I'm not a doctor yet.
The day that I defend, I'm going to have those in my trunk. And as soon as they shake my hand and say, congratulations, Dr. McKinley, I'm going to pull out a screwdriver and say, there's something I got to do before we go for lunch.
I'm still getting my PhD.
This is my website. I have a question and answer session where it's called Ask Almost Dr. Dunk.
I've done over 125 presentations now, like all over North America. I've got, you know, more than 1,000 hits now a week on my website. All these people from all over the world, you know, coming to me for help. Every once in a while I will wake up at 3 in the morning and I'll think, you know, I'm still a student. You know, there's all these people. I just came back from Prince Edward Island, and, I was told that every teacher in the province was there that I was talking to. My God, I just influenced the whole province. What are they listening to me for? What do I know? Ah! Growing up, I had a lot of really negative experiences, and it's taken me a lot. I kind of see a pre-diagnosis Dunk and a post-diagnosis Dunk, and they're very different people. And when I look back on that other person, it seems like I'm looking at a stranger.
Message to my parents. If everyone has these problems, why do I have so many more?
I had a humming tic fairly early on, and they would just grill me. What are you doing? What are you making that noise for? Are you humming a song? Doesn't sound like any song I've ever heard before. It sounds kind of retarded. Do you want people to think you're retarded? And I'd kind of look down at the floor. I wouldn't say anything. And I know I've got a big secret now. I know that they're seeing this much, and I just got that big of a reaction. There's no way I'm going to show them all of this.
Mom and Dad and Heather are a triangle of perfection. Even their mistakes are normal. You make them uncomfortable, and you're fast becoming too beaten to try anymore.
Every once in a while, I'd be ticking away, letting all this stuff out, and this voice in the back of my head would fire up, and it would just say, it'd be dead serious, and it would just cut to the quick and say, Duncan, there's something really, really wrong here. And I would just stuff that voice down as fast as I could because it scared the hell out of me.
I remember catching myself in the mirror every once in a while and seeing myself tick, and I would tell myself, stop, cut it out, don't do that again. You look like a freak. And I'd do it again. And of course, the more you think about not doing it, the worse it gets. And I'd get so angry, I'd think, I'll show it. So I'd tick and I'd hit myself. And I'd say, there, see what happens? See, you freak? That's what happens when you do bizarre, weird, dumb stuff like that. You get hit. It's not fun. It hurts. So cut it out. Don't do it anymore. Quit it. And I'd tick again. There, that's stupid. You're not going to learn that you don't do this stuff. I'd tick again. I'd hit myself again. I'd be ticking more and more and more. I'd be hit myself more and more and more. And eventually I'd give up. And I'd talk a lot to God. I'd make deals with him, just bargain right out loud with God in the corner of the bathroom. I'd say, do you want me to join a monastery? Do you want me to go to church every Sunday for the rest of my life? I'll do that. Just let me know. Give me a sign. I'll, make the toilet seat fall in the next 3 seconds. And if you do that, then I'll know that that's what you want me to do. And of course, the toilet seat never fell. And it just seemed that God hated me too. And so I'd sit there in the corner of the bathroom and just feel that I was completely and utterly alone.
I was so lost. This was my mind. All sorts of emotion just scattered, and I was a mess. It was glimmers of awareness, some building blocks to getting out of this rut.
1, 2, 3 stories.
When I used to play with Lego all the time, that was great because I was like God of the Lego universe. I would build everything up, and then I could destroy it all, but I had chosen to destroy it all. It was me that was doing it. I was affecting change on this world. And then, not only could I build it all up again, have control over that, I did it so many times. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of bricks I had, but every one of those bricks went back in the exact same spot it was before. It might have taken me 2 weeks of, coming home from school and spending all night on it, but eventually that entire town would be picture exact how it was before. And it was like, no, 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 that's not right. That guy was not standing on the third block in and the second block down. He was standing on the second block in and the third block down. It was his left leg that was extended out 30 degrees, not his right. His head was turned just slightly so. And so I would go through all this stuff. Maybe all this chaos was going on, but damn it, that Lego guy is standing in the exact same spot that he was 2 weeks ago. And when you're in need of control that badly, even something in as crude of a form as that is like an oasis.
I'm from a town called Ridgetown, which is about 3,300 people. It seemed to me, anyway, that everyone in town was normal but me. I could have had every kid in this school loving me, but in my own mind, I would have been writing that off because they didn't know who I really was.
Not only my parents don't understand, not only do other kids laugh at me, not only does God seem to have alienated me, you know, He's given me this thing and He won't get rid of it, but even something in my own head really hates me. That it was like I was at war with myself.
My very first day of high school, my very first class of high school, I sat right here. I was petrified. When I talk about I lived for years wondering when I would kill myself, not whether I'd kill myself, this is the playing field.
I was so miserable. I will never forget the night that I thought I was going to die, where I didn't know what I was doing. I took, stupid pills, and all they did was make me groggy the next morning. But I swallowed a lot of them, and in my mind, I'd done what I needed to do to die. And I went to bed that night believing 100% that I wasn't ever going to wake up again. I was happy. I felt at peace. I remember saying the Lord's Prayer to myself a couple times and kind of smiling as I drifted off. And I will always do what I'm doing now because I will always remember what that felt like. And I don't want to ever. And people don't have to feel that way. In a sense, we were all victims of just ignorance. I must have been, very difficult to be around, and I think on some levels, I knew that, and I didn't want to be that, but I didn't know how not to be that.
See, the problem is, too, and we didn't realize that he had Tourette's. And when you look back on it, you think, well, now I can see little things that maybe should have told me something. But until he really started into what I thought would be his beginning puberty, and then you think, well, hormones are just causing all this, he's raging here.
We fortunate enough to go to the pound and got Duncan a dog, and they become inseparable. He could communicate his feelings to the dog better than he could to us. Yeah. I think that was part of his way of working through what was going on in his life at the time, and it was a very fortunate coincidence that she come into our family's life.
I was almost finished high school. It was about May. I went home that day. The Ann Landers column that day was about Tourette syndrome. It was the most pivotal moment of my life. My jaw dropped, the sandwich dropped. I read the article about 3 times, and that voice that had always been sober in the back of my head was now doing handstands and cartwheels. He's going, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. I've learned that a lot of my problems, a lot of the things that tortured me, persecuted me when I was younger, didn't have anything to do with the symptoms specifically, had to do with people's reactions to the symptoms, people's attitudes about the symptoms, my own attitudes about the symptoms, my own assumptions about how people would react to the symptoms, a lot of psychological stuff. Which is why, even though a lot of people look at these as neurological disorders, and they are neurological, there's a lot of psychological components to them too, that just dealing with the neurology is only half the battle.
Mac was where I first started letting out my tics, and at first I didn't want to be. It was almost like as soon as I knew that I wasn't crazy, that I wouldn't be locked up, that there was a name for it, the floodgates dropped. And I remember one guy, it was our poetry prop, and he was teaching. At the time I had a snorting tic, like that. And I think he thought he was being heckled. And so about halfway through, he finally, he slammed the book shut and he looks around. And he had this very English accent and he goes, "Is there a pot-bellied pig in here?" And everyone just bursts out laughing. And I wasn't nearly at a comfort level where I could laugh with it. And I was mortified. When lightning goes, you count the number of seconds before you hear the thunder. I would tick and kind of count the number of seconds before the laugh.
Learn to communicate better. People won't misunderstand you. It's one thing for me to spend these years figuring myself out and coming to terms with myself and getting to know myself and getting to like myself. But it's another thing to ask that of parents, a sister, and girlfriends. There's been so many relationships where they've started off so intensely, so passionately, and I've watched them as they've almost deconstructed as, over time. I've worn the person out, maybe. Ha.
In third year, I met a phenomenal professor, Dr. Larry Roberts.
If you think of intelligence or whatever as a single fixed thing, you're led to ask, what is this thing?
Yeah.
And how in heaven's name could it be at the core of a person's individual adaptation?
People that have arguments, well, is it a psychological or a neurological disorder? Well, obviously it's both. That, more than anything, has been the guiding light, the sort of foundation to what I've been trying to do, showing people, what, a disorder doesn't have to be a disorder if you find an environment that matches it.
And you're right, that context matters enormously.
I have a defense date, August 22nd.
Congratulations. I'll be looking forward to it.
Go! Lump!
Oh, what the hell?
Josh Whitelaw is the first person I ever met with Tourette's, and the first kid I helped.
Oh, Josh!
We had that same disinhibited energy, our thoughts jumping around. In those first 4 seconds, we had not only decided we loved each other, but we had covered about 86 topics. And I watched Josh change in some different ways a lot quicker, a lot earlier than I ever did.
I realized that just because you have Tourette's doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're, bad or stupid. I did a bunch of projects. This is one of them, and I got a 93 on that. And without the inspiration from Duncan, I don't believe that I could have possibly done that.
You knew the code.
Come on in.
It's like better than fingerprints, you know. We all have our distinctive barks. I owe so much of this path that I've gotten on to Rosie. Behold, the nexus of the Tourette Syndrome Foundation of Canada. It was just astounding to me that someone could possibly have any faith in me, let alone confidence that I was going to offer something to this organization. Ladies and gentlemen, the executive director of the Tourette Syndrome frickin' Foundation of Canada.
The girl that's dead, and they're driving me nuts. Have you seen this?
This is a god on earth. She is an angel. Hmm? Yeah, I know. I got.
Did you get one?
Yep.
That's awesome.
This woman single-handedly runs everything Tourette's.
Momentarily.
This is the Bat Cave. The Bat Cave of Tourette's in Canada. You know, everything, everywhere. Posters and concerts and galas and conventions. Oh, right here. She's amazing.
Not single-handedly.
This woman, she saved my life.
Out of my face.
She, when no one else believed in me, came to me and said, Duncan, I believe in you.
There's so much that has culminated in today that I'm standing here right now, and I can't quite believe it. And there's been so much out of my control. I don't know. I don't know how today's going to turn out. The heat's on. Like, are you worth it? Basically, Duncan McKinley. Oh my gosh, half an hour. It's at 11 o'clock. Everyone files in. Then I scare them all out again with that. And then they all come in again. And so I give, for 30 minutes, a presentation. But then what happens is it gets open to questions. You only have half an hour of prepared material. The rest of it is just you standing there hoping that you've got the answers. I get sent out of the room. And they deliberate, and they vote, and they decide whether I get the PhD or not. Yeah. So it's stressful. The title of my dissertation is What Makes a Tick? Ticks being defined as sudden, rapid, recurrent, non-rhythmic, stereotyped movements or noises. Considerable evidence to suggest that the problems in Tourette syndrome are localized in the cortico, striato, thalamo, cortical circuitry, as watermarked in my slides for your viewing pleasure. I believe that the global term inhibition masks different categories of inhibition, and based on the diagnostic criteria of Tourette syndrome, I view this condition as pure form to be a problem in motor inhibition alone. Now, there are other inhibition difficulties that often occur in Tourette syndrome, such as problems in executive functioning or in the disinhibiting of entire words, such as coprolalia, the involuntary swearing symptom that's so media-friendly with Tourette syndrome. I believe that any of these additional inhibitory problems can be explained by the presence of various comorbid disorders. Finally, I'd like to thank all of you for your attention today, and at this point, would like to open myself up for questions. Thank you. Thank you. They've asked their questions and deliberate, so I go crap my drawers right now. My car's sitting downstairs without plates on it. And I got my screwdriver right here. Every time I walk in my garage, they're sitting up there teasing me for the last year and a half. So it's like,
come in and enter.
Say it again. When he opened the door, I'm not sure if you heard this, but Mike said, "Come on in, doctor." And I went, so
I can't believe I'm putting this on.
I'm Dr. Dunk. I'm Dr. Dunk. Whoa. At this point, I would be much more disordered if someone took my Tourette's away from me. All righty.